A very good afternoon and welcome to Africa Trade Brief. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area is one of the African Union's flagship projects that aims to accelerate intra-Africa trade and boost Africa's trading position in the global marketplace by, among other things, increasing intra-Africa trade. Let's take a look at some of the objectives of the Africa Intercontinental Trade. We're just giving you a preview there to our guest who's going to be with us a little bit later on. But here are some of the main objectives of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area: to expand intra-Africa trade, enhance competitiveness at the enterprise level, and exploit economies of scale to take advantage of the continental market access. Those are lofty objectives, but obviously in order to implement them and create the largest free trade area in the world, countries on the continent have to be signed up and ratify this agreement. So let's get an update on who has signed, and that's from the Trade and Law Center there. The latest country that have ratified the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is Tanzania on the 17th of January 2022. Before that, Burundi ratified, Seychelles, Algeria, Zambia. So that's just giving you an overview of some of the countries who have ratified that Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. So one of the challenges to trade are the different currencies used across the continent and different payment systems. The Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, PAPSS, is a new payment system introduced under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, and it's set to boost cross-border trade. However, some analysts want the African Union to look towards a single digital currency to enhance payments within the continent. SABC News Correspondent Nabil Ahmed Rufai reports from Accra.
More than 1.2 billion people in Africa can now trade with each other under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, creating more than $3 trillion economic bloc. The rollout of the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System is aimed at further boosting cross-border transactions. It will make it easier for traders to send and receive money instantly in their local currencies.
For now, we have EcoBank, we have other banks. They're hooked to PAPSS. Therefore, my bankers will follow my instructions and transact through PAPSS to my recipient in Nigeria. Now, the supplier or the buyer in Nigeria, or whatever, is going to receive it in a denominated local currency. Prior to PAPSS, if you want to do a transfer or buy something from somebody outside, even though the value is in local currency, you have to denominate it in a hard currency, dollar, pounds, or euro. This time, Afrasian Bank is like anchor with the central bank. You don't need to.
It's hoped that PAPSS will reduce the cost of making payments across African borders. The African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat says PAPSS will save the continent $5 billion every year. That's the amount of money Africa uses to convert local currencies to other currencies like the US dollar, pounds, and euros when making cross-border payments. But as the global economy shifts towards digital currencies, some analysts believe Africa needs its own single digital currency to advance the cause of the AfCFTA. While PAPSS is in its early stages of rollout, experts say it could be a launch pad in Africa's quest for a single digital currency.
This is a foreshadow of how a single currency is going to look like. But before you have a single currency, you have to have one central bank. So now that all the central banks are hooked to an anchor bank, it means that it's preparing us for a single currency.
For now, though, it is hoped that the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System will help improve financial inclusion within the continent while driving the cost of intra-trade down. Nabil Ahmed Rufai, SABC News, Accra, Ghana.
All right, let's get more on this payment system and speak to Dr Mike Ogbalu, who's joining us from Egypt. Thank you so much for your time on SABC News this afternoon. So let's talk about some of the challenges when it comes to currency and payments on the African continent.
Thank you very much. Again, when you talk about trade, really the exchange of goods and services, consume goods and services, and payments remain the trigger through which they consume those goods and services. Mm-hmm. Now, in the past, we've been focusing on other tariff-related barriers and non-tariff barriers, but clearly it's been shown that unless we deal with the subject of payments, we will not have the acceleration of trade. And believe it or not, once you don't have the continent trading with itself, the prosperity that we keep talking about for the continent is not going to happen. So one of the challenges is the challenge of FX, the challenge of cost, the challenge of the delays of doing those transactions. And PAPSS is here to try and address all of those challenges.
All right, just explain to us what PAPSS is, that Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. How does it work?
So PAPSS is the first continent-wide payment system. It's the result of collaboration between AfCFTA, Afreximbank, and the African Union, working with central banks. Now, it's a centralized financial market infrastructure that allows for payment across borders instantly and in local currencies. And those transactions, they occur in a maximum of 120 seconds. And it's a system that will be governed by central banks who will now sit on the governing council of PAPSS. Currently, we've done a successful pilot in the WAMSI region comprising of Nigeria, Ghana, Guinea, Gambia, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. And it's been fantastic. We are seeing transactions happen in about 7 seconds, okay? Now, we think that by doing that, we will effectively transform trade on the continent. So you are going to see small businesses from within the continent who certainly would consider the entire Africa as their market rather than just focusing on the small markets where they currently play. So we are bringing together now a market that comprise 1.3 billion people and actually allowing people to trade across borders in local currencies. That's the beauty of PAPSS.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like something that needs a lot of collaboration and a lot of work beforehand to implement it and ensure that it works. Just talk to us about the journey to getting to where we are now.
Oh, thank you. So it's been quite a journey. Started in 2016 as a concept, and then we started pitching to different stakeholders across the continent. Every major bank, every major payment institution on the continent was spoken to, and we were able to get insights from each of these stakeholders. Now, the engineering work started in 2018, and it was concluded in 2019. Now, the COVID, of course, had its own impact on the project, and the project didn't quite go live exactly when projected. But if you consider that it's a project that connects multiple currencies, and it was done in about 2 to 3 years, I think that we also did it in a record time. Mm-hmm. Now, what has happened now is each of these central banks together contributed bylaws in the design of rule books, in the design of standards, and so on. And eventually, in August of 2021, we had live transactions flowing between all of the central banks. Today, I can confirm to you that across the entire WAMSI region, we have transactions flowing across all the central banks, and commercial banks are now joining on the platform. We had a formal launch on the 13th of January in Accra, Ghana, and it was an epic event. It was really a signal that actually can collaborate, they can come together and unite around a common cause.
Mm-hmm. Talk to us about the benefits. I know you have outlined some of them in the short, medium, and long term.
So again, you're going to see businesses see a rapid increase in the volumes of transaction. Fabric trader who is in Nigeria, who needs to buy fabrics from Senegal, okay, he's able to now do that transaction in just about 120 seconds. He's able to make that payment, and therefore that gives him more trading time to be able to focus on his business. If you look at the banks will have a much more efficient service to offer to their customers. Network itself, their network is designed to underpin sort of like an innovation layer, and you will find that Africans will now feel free to innovate solutions for uniquely African challenges. All in the long run, you are going to see a phenomenal growth in the economy of the continent, and it will engender that prosperity that we all look forward to.
Dr. Mike Ogbalu, thank you so much for your time on SABC News, the head of the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, joining us there just to talk about the envisaged benefits, how it will work and how long it took us to get here. Let's take a look now at how African markets and currencies are performing. And that's where we leave it for now. Thanks so much for joining us.